All right, today we're going to talk about 13.2, which is Radian Day. We're going to do everything that we did in the previous video, or yesterday, only we're going to do it with radians. Now, first of all, let's talk about what a radian is. A radian is just a different way to measure angles. But the thing is, it's not an angle at all. Now, here's the thing. The radian is based upon the unit circle. And we're going to talk a lot more about that later. But first of all, the unit circle, it's a circle with a radius of 1. So, if the radius is 1, what would be the circumference of the unit circle? Well, 2 pi r, right? So 2 times r is 1, or is 2. The circumference is 2 pi. So here's what it looks like. If we had a circle with a radius of 1 centered about the origin. All right, so here's the coordinate plane. The center is the origin. So yesterday we talked about how if we went 360 degrees all the way around, if we start here at 0 and go all the way around to 360, halfway would be 180. Well, here's the thing. If we start here and we're talking about the circumference, if we started here, and we started walking around the circle, what would be the entire circumference? The entire circumference would be 2 pi. All right, so 2 pi is the equivalent of 360 degrees. All right, 2 pi is the same thing as 260 degrees. It's just measured differently. Rather than an angle going around 360 degrees, we're just talking about the circumference of the circle. All right, so if 180, what would be 180 in radians? Well, if it's 2 pi all the way around, halfway around would be 1 pi. So in other words, pi is equal to 180 degrees. Which, think about it. If we took 2 pi divided by 2 on both sides, you get pi is equal to 180 degrees. So that's a little bit about what a radian is. That's enough talking about that. Let's graph some. We're going to draw and list 2 coterminal angles. Remember, I want 1 positive and 1 negative. So let's start simple. Let's start with 3/4 pi. 3/4 pi. All right. Now let's draw a coordinate plane in standard position. Now, even though it has the measurement of radians has to do with circumference, the way we're going to draw it is still with angles. Now, like I said, if we were to draw pi, it would that would go halfway around the unit circle, right? So 3/4 pi would be almost there, right? If it's pi to, remember, this is always our standard position. We always start here. If we were to go pi, that would rotate all the way to the next one, right? So if that's 1 pi, then half pi would be up here, right? So here's 1/2 pi. 3/4 pi would be between 1/2 and 1 pi, right? So 3/4 pi is going to look like this. That is 3/4 pi. Now, yesterday when we were doing degrees, when we were finding coterminals, we added and subtracted 360 degrees. Instead, today what we're going to do is we're going to add and subtract 2 pi. Actually, since think of pi as like x, so we need to add and subtract 2 to this 3/4. So the only thing that you've got to do is 3/4 plus 2, which shame on me for using a calculator. 2 is 8/4, right? I just want to show you that even if you forget how to add fractions, you get 11/4, right? 11 pi fourths is another coterminal angle. Let's talk about a negative. What is 3/4 minus 2? Now again, 2 is 8/4. What's 3/4 minus 8/4? Negative 5/4 pi. Negative 5 pi fourths. Now, check it. If we were to go negative, this would be half a pi. This would be 1 pi, or 1 pi would be 4/4. So here's half is 2/4, right? So here's 2/4, here's 4/4. This would be 6/4, right? So 5/4 would be a little bit more. We'll do more of that in just a minute. Let's try another one. Let's kick it up a notch. How about 12 pi fifths? 12 pi fifths. Now 12 pi fifths is going to start here. Now, I kind of walked you through it here. Let me show you the easy way to do fractions. So this is 2 pi all the way around. This is 1 pi halfway around. So this is pi halves, right? You with me on that? Hopefully. So pi is the same thing as 5/5 pi, right? 5 divided by 5 is 1, right? So what is all the way around here? All the way around would be 10/5 pi. You with me on that? So if we were to go all the way around, or if we were to start traveling around this, we would go, here's 5/5, here's 10/5, right? So 10/5 is all the way around. We still got to go another 2/5 pi. Is 2/5 going to get me past the halfway mark? Well, no. If this is 0 to 5, halfway would be 2.5, right? So it's going to get me close to that, but not quite. There's our angle right there. So, we went around 5/5, 10/5, and we had to go two more. That didn't get us past the halfway mark. So, coterminals, we have to add and subtract 2. If we subtract 2 from 12/5, 2 is the same thing as 10/5. What's 12/5 minus 10/5? 2 pi fifths. Right? That's our positive one. I also would accept 22 pi fifths. 12/5 plus 10/5 is 22/5. But we need a negative one as well. So 2/5 minus 10/5 is negative 8 pi fifths. All right. Let's try a couple more. How about, let's go crazy. How about 39 pi sevenths? Smith, that's ugly, and I don't like it. I know. It's great. But again, let's think about this. So 1 pi is halfway, so that would be 7/7, right? 7 pi sevenths. So all the way around is 2 pi, which is 14 pi sevenths. So now we count it off, right? We always start here. So 14 pi sevenths. Can I go all the way around again? Sure. That'll get me to 28 pi sevenths. Now, how many more do I got to go? I got to 28 pi sevenths now. Can I go 7 more? 28 will take me to, 28 plus 7 will take me to 35 pi sevenths. I'm at 35 pi sevenths. Now I still got to go 4 more. Now, remember, 0 to 7 is halfway around. So a quarter of the way around, or the halfway mark, would be 3.5. If I got to go 4 pi sevenths, am I going to make it past the y-axis? Yes, I'm going to make it just past there. So it's going to be something like this. All right, so this is 2 times around. 14 pi sevenths, 28 pi sevenths. 7 more will get me to 35, and I got to go 4 more, which gets me just past the halfway mark, because 4/7 is a little bit more than halfway. All right, so coterminals. Now here's the thing: we had to go twice around, so we're going to subtract 2 pi again. So 39 pi sevenths. I need my calculator. 39 minus 14. That's 1 time around, right? 14 pi sevenths. 25 pi sevenths. I'm going to subtract it again. Minus 14. 11 pi sevenths. So here's what's up. I would be down with 11 pi sevenths. I would also be down with 25 pi sevenths. As far as the negative, subtract 14 pi sevenths again, you should get negative 3 pi sevenths. Again, if you wrote 25 pi sevenths, I would be fine with that as well, as far as a positive. But the negative, you need to have negative 3 pi sevenths. Or negative 17 pi sevenths. You know. Smith, I'm still... Well, we'll come back to that. The other thing that we talked about was reference angles. Now remember, the reference is the acute angle. Oh my goodness, not accused. Acute angle made with the terminal ray and this is important, the x-axis. The x-axis. So, let's go back to number 1, this first example here. We went 3 pi fourths. Now remember, this was 4 pi fourths halfway. This is 8 pi fourths this way. So when we went 3 pi fourths, we couldn't make it to 4. But 0 to 4, this would be 2 pi fourths here. So we made it a little bit, well, halfway between the half and 1, right? So, this is our acute right here. This is our acute there. If we went half and then a quarter more, what is the reference? It'll be 1 pi fourth. That's our reference. All right, let's move on to this one. We went 5 pi fifths, 10 pi fifths. We went 10 pi fifths all the way around, and then we went 2 more. Now remember, reference is the terminal with the x-axis. So this is our terminal. What's our terminal here? Well, if we went 10 and 2 more, our reference here is 2 pi fifths. All right, and then our last one here, it was 14 pi all the way around 7. So we went 14, 28, 35, and 39. Remember, here's our reference. We went 4 pi sevenths this way. It's a total of 7 all the way around. So what would be left for this? Our reference would be 3 pi sevenths. We'll practice more of that during class. Smith out!